Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. And we're zooming in and focusing in on a great viewer question. And that was to discuss really the sort of insults that come at the mouth of the narcissist or psychopath. And what does that really mean? How do you handle it? I receive so many questions from viewers every single day. It's how do I handle, how do I handle, how do I handle? And oftentimes the number one question is, how do I handle the insults and the criticism? The fact that they are just going to launch into a tirade of going off on you, finding a fault, finding something wrong, criticizing you, making negative comments, basically trying to shut you down, and not able to function, not able to interact, or furthermore, even worse, get into a situation which you are reacting in, constantly having to pounce back, respond to. You get into a very reactive lifestyle versus being able to respond logically and sensibly to the situation. It becomes an impulse reaction when you are constantly insulted, and the brain responds to these insults the same way as if one's life is threatened. So, for example, the fight or flight mechanism, which sets off in the human being in the limbic system, for example, back in old times when people were having to make fires and hunt and gather, cook their food, if they were out, doing this, and whatever it is that they were hunting for that day, an elk, a deer, caribou, whatever it is they were hunting, if they were then getting stormed after or chased by a bear, for example, a bear who, an animal, wildlife, who would eat a human being, who would attack it, and maul it. So, in other words, or a tiger, or a lion, and you'd see these things, the human being, and then you would launch into fight or flight. In other words, the adrenaline would go pumping. You'd begin to run. That would be your instinctual reaction. So, running for your life, so to speak. So the human responds, that same system is initiated or launched into when you are hurled with this constant, criticism. And so it's going to be very testy. It's always going to be that reactive nature. So realize the insults are designed to be provoking or provocative of you in that moment. So when you do that, who is the predator and who is the prey? You can almost look at the relationship like that. Who is the predator, who is the prey? And then realize that, you are being put into a powerless position because of this. And that is very uncomfortable. People might have constructive criticism where you can deal with it logically and practically, but if you're constantly being the end of this criticism for whatever form it takes, you're late, your food. Especially now, a lot of viewers are asking me this around the holidays because they're going to have to, be in close proximity with this individual and they want to know how to deal with it. Well, realize that, for number one, the criticism has nothing to do with reality. You're not crazy. You're not inadequate. And oftentimes the very target of this criticism is on your strength. So if you find you're a fantastic cook, well, you can pretty much guarantee and forecast and bet and expect that you are going to get launched into in a positive nature, or either a very, positive nature, supportive, or by the narcissist, you're going to get these undercutted jabs. You're spending too much money. This is burnt. This shouldn't be shaped this way. Why would you put these ingredients together? I've never heard of this before. We always measure things out. You're going to hear the tirade of criticism. So why open up yourself to that? Why open up your door to the criticism? Once you're old enough, mature enough, knowing enough, and you find that place of certainty that says, you know what, I know that they target me with insults in the areas of my strength. So you could be a very, very talented dresser. You could be into fashion. You could be into painting. You could be into sculpting. You could be into making music. areas of your strength that which you want to give to the world, and they have a problem with it. They have a problem listening to music. They have a problem listening to feelings. They have a problem with looking at art. They have a problem with tasting food. They have a problem with your strength. I mean, because to them, your light, is a light. And they, once again, we remember with these types of people, they want to dim the lights of others. So you'll oftentimes find a direct correlation between the criticism and your strength. So be very well aware of this, and that so what to do, basically you need to know and protect your strength and not feel guilty. That's a big one for people, to not feel guilty, not feel shamed, to live your life, to be strong and to be happy, because oftentimes your happiness is a fatal flaw. They're going to go and try to make you unhappy. It's sick, it's stupid, it wastes a lot of time, it wastes human energy. I know a lot of viewers who have wasted decades. Okay, so now let's compress time. All that time that you have felt wasted, let's compress that and now make that even more potent to change in your future, and know how valuable that what you have now, that energy, that that golden light, that those talents and strength and your happiness, which is so precious. Let's now live that and do that. Let's go for that, and let's compress time and make your life now even more joyous, even more adventurous, even more intimate with life as you know it and want it, to go out there and go and to pursue kind of that where you feel your heart drawing you and you don't know why. You feel like you're going to do this and you're not looking back. You can almost hear, the words of the narcissist. You don't deserve this. You're not good enough. You'll never make it. You are, your painting is awful. Your dress is awful. And next thing you know, you're winning awards for your painting, or you're now going into marketing and you're in new product development, and you've now made, contributed to multi-million-dollar products such as myself. It will never be validated. It will never be accepted. They'll, how could that be? A little person like you, how did you write that tagline? How did you, that's what people like you are for. And they won't get it. They won't validate it, but you cannot share it. You cannot share. The sad thing is you cannot love those people who you want to love in this situation. In other words, you cannot be love in their presence. Oftentimes you cannot be that with what you want to be with them, because it's going to be you're an object of targeting to them. It's an erroneous target to them. I mean, they've just got their arrows and they're just ping, they're ready to hurl these insults at you. They have a whole caboose of arrows, a whole, whatever you call it, of, arrows in their quiver that they're ready to sling on you. I mean, they're just ready to take you down. And so either you can identify that your strengths are the object of their targeting, and realize that you better protect those strengths, and you better embrace that, and you better follow up on that, and you better make that part of your recovery journal. And in your I want section and I am section, get those going and begin to follow up and pursue those interests of yours that you have hitherto felt bad about, too depressed to do, said, I don't deserve to indulge in this part of life because that would be selfish, i.e. would be my life purpose, i.e. would make me happy, i.e. that's a target for you. So just like the Indians who had that shield. I mean, you need to have that so that when they sling it, it just bounces back. It doesn't affect you in any way. It doesn't hit you, because they're just slinging to take you down. They're aiming at your strengths. So protect your strengths, know your strengths, live your strengths, begin to foster your dream, and begin to put 1 and 2 together for yourself without, you don't need to share it with the narcissist because it's open for targeting. Remember, the arrow in the quiver is just ready. I mean, boom, boom. I mean, they're just going to pull it out, so be very careful, especially if you have been in the erroneous position of wanting to seek validation from this narcissist for your strengths. So you've got the double whammy, you've got the double-edged sword, as it's been called, basically where, you're wanting then approval from this person who cannot give it. Your life value, self-assessment, your self-esteem is based on now getting approval from this person who can't give it and wants to target and sabotage that because it makes them win, do you see how you're setting yourself up for failure? So you need to now acknowledge this and see it for what it is. And even if it's unbelievable and you say, well, why me? How do I deal with this? How do I deal with events? How do I deal with the holidays? Well, if you're going to go and present yourself, you need to say, I'm going to be up against this hurling of insults, and it's not going to be enjoyable for you. It's very difficult to simultaneously enjoy yourself and feel at ease and feel at peace and harmony while you're, around this energy. It's hard to put the two and two together. They cannot coexist. As, Albert Einstein says, you cannot simultaneously prevent for war or whatever. I mean, and not participate in it. So you need to prepare for happiness and be in happiness. So, if that, involves being with a narcissistic person, I mean, the two cannot simultaneously exist. So, if the innocents are coming, you just need to wash it over you like water over duck's back. Don't, be indifferent to it. Be neutral to it. Do not grab onto it. Do not grab onto it with your heart. Don't grab onto it with your hands. Do not let it soak into you. Have that kind of emotional shield which is around you and become immune to it. Know that it's just part of who they are and just ignore it. You have to ignore it. Trying to control you. Well, you should be doing this. Even though, they're trying to control you, do not give in. Just look how ridiculous they are when they're trying to control you. I mean, just see how ridiculous and how unevolved these people are for trying to think that they have to control others and that just it's not who you want to interact with. So either limit your time, know that this is going to be coming. Would I say begin to forecast it? Know that it's coming and then prepare yourself. If you're going into the storm, well, then you better have some store gear on. You better know who you are. You better be the captain of your own ship. You better know how to rudder it out. You better know how to steer away from the blow-ups. And you must know how to then present joyfully and enjoy the rough ride. I mean, you either need to say, I love it rough or whatever it is. You need to rudder it out and learn from it. But oftentimes people don't learn from it. They don't feel empowered by it. They don't feel good about, mastering this individual. They don't like to be around it. As much as that difficult that might be to admit to yourself, if you need to admit that to yourself in the space of this video, you need to know the truth. And the reason why you don't want to be around this person is because of A, B, C, X, Y, Z. If you can write that down, why you don't want to be around them and confide in yourself. In other words, let yourself to know the truth, because otherwise it's kind of like bottled up and, you're kind of like unconscious about it. But if you know why, and it's based in reality, you'll see that you're coming from a realistic perspective. And furthermore, then you need to then create change and know that life is conspiracying for you, not against you. In other words, life is working to help you, not to hurt you. So once you really get that and feel that and you go, wow, this is a lot different than being, narcissistically abused or psychopathically abused. Wow. I mean, that is a miracle in and of itself. So once you're able to get that, feel that, and then act in that, make choices in that, and then live in that, it's like you're carried, that it's like a guardian presence is carrying you, guiding you, moving you, helping you. So you can kind of, a lot of viewers here say surrender and allowing that change. So, allowing change to take place and being able to see it clearly and then accepting it and then moving on consciously and clearly and not, so many people are into the rapid, they can't think. They're acting before they're thinking, So begin to become more conscious of it and begin to act after thinking a little bit more. In other words, work on developing that space between your actions and then your decisions, your choices and your decisions and your behavior, like where you're entering in, you're making that decision, catch yourself there and then ask yourself, is this really what I want? And am I prepared for this? And you can unequivocally say yes, then you can enter into it. But furthermore, to get happy simultaneously is something you have to work on, and you have to know where your happiness is, and you have to know, if this, then I'm going to respond by this. I'm not going to be reactive. I'm going to respond. It's a very, very important tool to learn. When this individual comes at you with their insults, you ignore it or you don't respond. You carry on because you know in your heart what you're doing is right and what you want. You are you. You are free. You are combined with all the trillions and trillions of cells and emotions and heart and experience. You are not them. They are not you. Do not give them the privilege of overpowering you. Do not give them the opportunity to overpower you. Don't let them at you in that way. You need to seal yourself up if you're going to be around them, or furthermore, make the decision to say no. No contact. I will not be present in that manner. I will not be subjugated to that. And so that's really how you deal with the insults. If you're constantly up against this, you have to ask yourself, is this worth it to me? And if so, how can I proactively deal with it and really rudder myself and make myself a better captain for weathering this type of storm? It is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today, and I hope that these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.